Welcome to Light the Path, the podcast that brings you inspiring stories of courage, strength, and faith. Listen in as we explore how God's love and grace can inspire and motivate us to overcome life's challenges and light the path forward.
Hello, Pathfinders. Thank you so much for coming back to Light the Path podcast. I am excited about this episode. But first, let's talk. Have you subscribed on YouTube? Are you following on all social media platforms? If not, do that right now. Put the notifications on if you like, so that way you can be notified of every new episode that is coming out. Season 4 is going phenomenal, and it just keeps getting better. May is National Foster Care Month, and of course, we're going to be talking about that. And I am so privileged to have Kim on today to help navigate this conversation because Kim and I are involved in a group, Courageous Conversations, and Kim made a statement our last meeting, and it almost brought me to tears. She said, "I am not a statistic." And what she meant by that is this: since it's May National Foster Care Month, we're going to be talking about that. The theme for this year's National Foster Care Month is engaging youth, building supports, strengthening opportunities. And what she meant by not being a statistic, this is part of it, and she's going to elaborate. Youth who emancipate from foster care without permanent connections are at increased risk for adverse outcomes in adulthood. Some of the stats also are there are approximately 20,000 youth who are emancipated from foster care without a permanent family. 77% in 2021 of eligible youth in foster care ages 14 through 21 year old left care without receiving the federally funded services necessary to prepare them for adulthood and independent living. Y'all help me welcome Kim to this conversation because we are going to do it. I'm probably going to take my glasses off because I'm probably going to get teary-eyed.
No.
Because when you said that statement, Kim, first of all, welcome to Light the Path podcast. Thank you for your time. When you said that statement the other night, it brought tears to my eyes.
Yes. It can't be any truer. It definitely, I am not a statistic. And if you don't mind, I'll go into why I'm not a statistic.
Absolutely.
I unfortunately had a very traumatic childhood. And my sisters and I were placed into foster care when I was 16. And I was placed with my best friend and her mother went through foster care training in order to get me. My sister didn't have those two amazing women, and she went on to bring 4 children into the world through her drug and alcohol addiction. And I ended up starting as a kinship foster care placement for them. Unfortunately, she was murdered in June of 2014. And unfortunately, I lost her oldest son in August of 2018. And I'm saying I'm not a statistic because I could have the likelihood of myself putting children back into the system like she did is unfortunately a statistic that I know all too well. I went on to foster for 20 plus years, and since 1991, and I have had over 140 foster children, both kinship and non-blood related. A majority of those were teen girls. And I am trying to help stop the cycle of child abuse that brings their children back into the system. So far, I've done the best I could and have unfortunately had quite a few that have had children put back through, but I've also had some with some amazing successes too. So.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And thank you for your transparency because that just opens it all up. I mean, yes, we have these awareness months, different months are awareness, this and that, but I think they're important because they open our eyes. We can take the blinders off of what's actually going on when you and yours are doing decent, nothing's going on, you don't have that insight, just of ignorance. You just don't know what's really going on with other people. And for you to say these numbers are staggering, how even reading the statistics, when I pulled that up, it was staggering to know that 20,000, and that's approximate. That was in 2021, according to that report, that article, and we're here in 2024. So I can't even imagine what the numbers would be now.
That's not counting unaccompanied minors either, because unfortunately they are not counted in the total. Right now in South Carolina, I checked the dashboard today, which is updated. For South Carolina, there's 3,764 children currently in foster care. 1,642 of those are 13 to 21. And unfortunately, it's said that they will not be reunifying. And you know how much cost of living is now in South Carolina, and these kids are pretty much fed up with the system. So what do they do when they're 18? They sign themselves out. And then they struggle. And unfortunately, another statistic is the foster care to prison pipeline. 66% of the people that are currently in the prison system had some dealings with social services.
Wow.
And they are, unfortunately, didn't have any care. They could have tapped into the Chaffee funds and the ETV funds, which are there for the state, to help the children. But a lot of kids, unless they have a parent or a person guiding them, then there's not, no way to get a hold of those funds, because it has to be, forms have to be filled out, and there's a governmental process to do that.
Okay, gotcha. So, so how are you actively now? I mean, you said the numbers of how many children that you've been with. How are you actively now helping out with this? Because this, it's staggering. The numbers are staggering. So how do we even start chipping off some of this? Because how do we eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
Yes. So where do we start?
Well, I have been challenged by the higher ups in DSS to start a supervised independent living program for teens ages 18 to 21. And what will happen is that I have a partner with Affordable Upstate, and they are leasing me 15 units right now, studio apartments. And I will be bringing 15 of those, which is just a drop in a bucket. It's going to be very difficult to get, narrow down to who I am going to take in there, because everyone is worthy. I'm going to take those 15 and pay their room and board for 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And along with that, they're going to have a personalized, intensive independent living plan, which is going to teach them skills such as banking, money matters, grocery shopping, cooking, things that a parent normally would do, but they probably have not had. How to do laundry, where to go if you don't have a washer and dryer. Some of those things you think, you've asked your parents probably yourselves and they've helped already, but these kids are clueless.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: with people being when they're in foster care, like none of these things are going on.
A lot of these people were in, a lot of the teens, unfortunately, because there is such a critical shortage of foster homes, they were put into group homes. And yes, some of them did do independent living skills, but some just made it easier. Like they would go to a cafeteria, their laundry was done for them. They may not have had some of these skills. Some have. There were some amazing foster families like myself who did take in teens and who did do independent living skills. But the majority is they didn't. And so they're at a loss.
So is that a point of where we can help too? Can we go, I'm saying we, community, society, those who can take time to volunteer, can we go to the group homes to help instill some of these skills? Or is that sort of like an off-grid, or I don't know, how does that go?
Well, here's the problem. Even though there is a critical shortage of foster homes, they shut down the group homes. Yeah. So some of these kids are couch surfing. Some of them are sleeping on the floors of the offices of DSS. Um, some of them are running away because nobody cares, you know? And it is really sad right now. And yes, every child deserves a loving home, but when there's a critical shortage, they should never have shut down those group homes. Were there some horrible group homes? Absolutely. But there were some really good ones too. And there are some still out there, but those usually take some, those with a little bit more mental health and trauma that need, quite a bit more support and that can't go into a normal foster home. But yeah, I mean, it's at a critical level right now. And heartfelt calling, if you are fed, led to possibly foster, heartfelt calling is where you go to the beginning, to go through an orientation class that gives you those, hey, look, it's wonderful that you need this, but it's not for everybody. And then if you can't foster right now, then becoming a guardian ad litem is another huge thing. And they are the voice of the child in court. So they speak for the child in the court. And there is also a critical shortage for that too.
Okay, those are great resources. So, I'm just trying to see, like, okay, so there are places where society can help out, but it's just so many children. It just seems like we're not making a dent in this. So I don't know. What do you tell a foster child who is been through the system, who is almost aging out? What is your encouragement to them? What do you say to them?
Well, with Bridge to Independence, which is the company that I founded, we are going to be starting a mentorship. So I am going to get people who are going to be paired with a teens individual, and try to connect the ones that maybe have equal interests, like if they want to become a barber or a baker. We're going to try to hook them up with each other so they can be mentored. With those who are not going to be in my program, they are can tap into HUD funds, supervised independent living. For HUD actually is called choice vouchers, and they can get in for 24 months completely paid through HUD, and there is no waiting list for them now. However, there is some problems with our local Greenville HUD. If they're in Spartanburg or Pickens or some other county, they can go through those things. But Greenville County, unfortunately, right now is having a really big problem with HUD. I'm not going to discuss that. That's a very long, drawn-out process.
Okay.
But all children who have aged out of foster care can hook up to HUD funds, which are FUP funds, family unification funds. Again, but it takes a person to help you get through that. So they're contacting their Chaffee worker, who is the person that connects them with the other services. Like they can get graduation cap and gown paid for, a class ring. They can even furnish their apartments for them.
Okay.
All of that's available, but again, they may not know who their Chaffee person is. I mean, if some of these kids are having to move to, different counties because there's no person to help them, because there is a critical shortage of social workers too. They're burnt out. Some of these have extremely heavy caseloads, and unfortunately, the teen kids slip through the cracks of that.
Wow, this is really astonishing and very eye-opening. Just to know, just the numbers here in Greenville and the ones that I read, that those are national. So this is a huge concern, and I'm thankful that May is Foster Care Awareness Month. I'm thankful for the work that you're doing. Is it you and a team? Who else is helping you? How can we, as a society, get involved and help?
Well, I do on my website there, I do have a form to complete if you're interested in becoming a mentor. And I do have two amazing former foster daughters of mine who are going to be helping with that. They are both my successes. They have each had children, and I am very blessed to say that they have not entered foster care. They're both graduates of college, one of them with an advanced degree. I actually have kept in the 140 kids, I've kept in contact with over 25 of them. And as I said, some of them unfortunately have brought children back into the system. but they're doing a lot better, and they're starting to get their children back. There are so many amazing programs out there fostering great ideas, which is a nonprofit that helps, which is the Aspire program. There are resources out there, but again, it takes an adult possibly to, help connect them. So reach out to me if they have questions, if needed. I can point them in the right direction. Becoming a mentor is a huge thing right now, because everyone needs guidance, even more so with a teen that may not have a parental figure. And just knowing somebody cares, because I had those two amazing women that cared for me. And I want to be that for those children. That's why I've started this Bridge to Independence. Phase 1 will just be the 15, but eventually I want to do 100 plus. But that's to come. That's being worked out right now as God plans. He has a hand in it, and I've got to just be patient.
Absolutely. Well, let everybody know your social media contact information, how they can get in touch with you.
I'm on the website is bridgetoindependence24.com. She's put it up on the screen. Facebook is bridgetoindependence25.com via Facebook, not .com. And then, of course, I have Twitter. I tweet quite often.
Okay.
There's Instagram, Bridge to Independence. All of them are pretty much Bridge to Independence. Any of the social medias, I've tried to keep it pretty even out there. So.
Okay. Well, Kim, thank you so much for your time and your attention to this, bringing us more awareness. And I look forward to jumping in and helping out where I can also.
I appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me today.
You're welcome. Remember, everyone, sharing our experiences is not only empowering, but it can help light the path.